Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is Daybreak Africa. Before we went on a short break, before our report, we did tell you that we shall be taking a look at a very important topic today. And I'm glad to let you know that our guest is already seated and we shall be linking up as we discuss this morning. Today we're taking a look at SMEs in Nigeria, challenges, practical solutions. Now, according to the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, small and medium-scale enterprises, SMEs, are defined as components or companies with a workforce of fewer than 300 individuals, And recent research conducted reveals that Nigerian businesses fall within that range, approximately 96%. To discuss this with us today is our guest, Charles Eromosele. He is a business management consultant. Charles, it's so nice to have you on Daybreak Africa this morning.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
A very good morning to you, Charles. How are you doing today?
Thank you.
So Charles, talking about SMEs, you are the expert. Tell us more about SMEs. We've been told that these are businesses that fall within or less than 300 individuals. And of course, Nigerian businesses fall within 96% of this or within this category. So could you tell us more about SMEs?
Okay, basically, thank you very much. I'm so glad to be here. The bloodstream for any economy, for any nation, is actually its what we refer to as its enterprise development systems. And even though we're talking about SMEs, that's what we also refer to as SSEs, talking about small scale enterprises. So one of the things we need to understand, when you talk about SMEs as you've defined, SMEs basically are categorized into formal and informal. And when you say formal, the formal SMEs in Nigeria contribute to about 40% of our production as a nation. They were not even able to calculate informal SME actually contributes, which is massive. So what we talk about SMEs basically, what we're basically saying is that these are the reason why our GDP is even something to even write in the first place. So one of the things we need to understand is that the bloodstream of any economy is its SMEs, not large-scale organization. So the truth of the matter, the more we give attention to developing enterprise systems, the more we are going to be able to, become developed as a nation in the future. So the education people are going to study the development that we want to see around our enterprise. So one of the major things why this topic actually becomes very paramount is that the day and time that we are in right now actually warrants people to understand that if we are going to develop as a nation, if our economy is going to recover, one of the most important things that we must give attention to is enterprise development. And by saying enterprise development, we're saying we need to now begin to look at skill acquisitions systems. We need to now begin to look at the production of our SMEs in the past 10, 15, 20 years and be able to find out what are the strengths of the SMEs. What can we amplify on? What can we solve? One of the major issues with SMEs in Nigeria is financial inclusion.
All right, Charles, I'm very much sure that you are really going to give us a lot on this, but now we shouldn't move at that very fast pace. Looking at the whole situation, the SME is an industry on its own. And as you've rightly stated that it's a very big part of a nation's economy. It gives a very big contribution to a nation's economy, about 40% talking about the former, which you stated, right? Now, 96% of Nigerian businesses are owned by small-scale businesses. Now, we understand that in business, continuity is very paramount. It's one thing to start business. The most important part is not just starting it, but the way you have to sustain it, to sustain the business. And now we are looking at it about 20% of the 96% are the ones that can really sustain their business after 5 years. This is a very big problem. Definitely it means that productivity and sustainability in that line is declining. What could you really point out to be an issue that is causing this?
Okay, the education base for startups is different from the education base for sustaining a business.
Okay.
So a lot of people are actually good at starting up a business, but sometimes people don't now move from what I refer to as moving from the success of startup to the significance of sustainability. So if you are truly good to sustain, you need to be excellence driven in terms of your operations. You need to be excellence driven in terms of proper management leadership. One of the problems with the average SME sector or average SME owner in Nigeria is that there is no even long-term growth. So the business just starts succeeding. Before you know it, they are now playing down on customer management or customer relationship management. Because profit maximization is now increased, people want to buy the best of cars, they want to now begin to talk about table economics, what I would say, taking care of every other thing, without remembering that your business is like an organism. It needs to be fed. You need to continually renew the knowledge base. If you ask the average SMEs now, when last did they run a training for their staffing systems? When last did they have something like workforce development programs? So you see, the truth matter, if you are going to compete in today's world, there are basic information you need to ask. You ask the average Nigerian SMEs right now, what are little things about basic accounting, bookkeeping? They don't know about it. So when the storms now come, they are not now able to handle those storms. Storms like, for example, a lot of people did not expect what happened within the COVID-19 season. So a lot of business that were able to, survive in those periods, those were business that already knew how to build an online base. So they could transit into a new level of doing business. We take, for example, right now, the dollar crunch and all that. As things begin to increase, only those that have been able to build excellence-driven operation systems, they are the only one that will be able to survive. So we need to now begin to understand that there is a knowledge base you need in starting up a business, and there is a knowledge base that you need for sustaining that business. And this is the last word. This is what I want to add to that also. We're in an era right now where in every part of the world, people are beginning to move from a place of success to significance. Success is not the fact that you've been able to make money in business. Success is that your business have now become valuable, that a nation cannot do without it. That's why you see in places like the US, you notice that they have a little bit of economic storm or depression. Immediately, the government is already finding a way to bail out some of those businesses because they understand that the economy is dependent on the productivity of such business. So Nigerians now need to become much more excellence-driven in their approach to go study in terms of operational management, financial management. If you are in business, forget about unhealthy competition also. So that's also another major issue. One of the things that kill business faster in Nigeria is unhealthy competition. And that's another thing we don't normally focus on a lot, but the truth of the matter is actually out there. There seems to be this favoritism or this godfatherism, not just in politics, happening in business as well. So, but if we are able to build a value system where your customers, where individuals now begin to say, oh, this is not just a business, this is now part of the culture of my home, part of the culture of my, what we refer to as customer utility base, definitely you're going to go far. And then another very important thing, we need to now begin to understand that the world now no longer have walls per se. So, Nigerian business now need to now find how to break into the international community. As a matter of fact, if you're an SME and you don't begin to have foreign capital base, you are likely not going to succeed. Because for us to remain competitive in line with our counterparts in the US, in the UK, and in Canada, in several of those places, we need to become the best in terms of things like IT, augmented reality, AI, and stuff like that. And if you're going to do that, then you must find a way to export your know-how, export your knowledge down to some other countries as well. So those are just some critical things that I think people need to now understand. Yeah.
Yes. Now, it's interesting that you actually talked about competition. I know there's unhealthy competition and I know there's healthy competition. That's number one. Yeah. You spoke about relevance in business. That's number two. And thirdly, you spoke about training, the fact that Nigerian business owners, no matter how small or big or medium that the businesses are, they need proper training, they need awareness. So it is important for Nigerians to desist from the follow syndrome. You see someone selling a particular product in the market or down your street and the person is making so much money. You jump the wagon and you join, not even finding out how that business was started, how capital was gotten, how the business will be sustained. All they are thinking about is just profit at the end of the day. Please, can you let Nigerians know the importance of training in terms of starting a business?
Yeah, it's so funny that we are in an economy that is giving more to entertainment than education. And one of the things we always need to remember, the business you have today, and we've done a research recently, and it's so sad that a lot of business, just like was said earlier on, a lot of business don't last more than 5 years. And even the one that even lasts beyond above 5 years, you notice that they're actually struggling. They are no longer within that competitive edge for profits increase, but they are rather within the survival stage. It's so sad right now. You go to certain SMEs now, they're already cutting down on salaries, they're cutting down on workforce and a lot of things. So we can never emphasize education. Very, very key. As a matter of fact, if you're an SME, one of the ways to actually prove that you are actually going to last for the next 10 years is to ask yourself, what are you unlearning? Because it's so quick for a lot of us, just like you said, you just find out your competitor A has bought this. You've not gone to check whether competitor A have been able to study for the last 2 years how to operate that thing better, but you just think about purchase. And then you go buy without forgetting there's a knowledge base that guarantees productivity within that particular phase. So right now, and another thing that is very important, education is no longer like it used to be. So when we say education, people think when we say education, we're saying go and bag a degree in a business school, go to Harvard. No, there's something about street smartness that the average Nigerian has that we don't use very well in our own nation. But take that Nigerian to a place like Canada, UK, their productivity is going to be 10 times higher than they are in Nigeria. Why? Because they must survive. And let me tell you why this is very, I don't think Nigeria actually has any problem in terms of our IQ or our ability to, do things in an excellence-driven way. The environment also has not helped. Now, if you check our cable TV, how many business channels do you have? If you want to talk about it. Now, KAFTAN TV is doing this particular program now. You know the importance of bringing business, business or programs like this. How many people would tune in to be able to listen, to know, okay, this is very important for the growth of my business. So tomorrow, guess what? People no longer want to go study, but rather they want to go pray about it. Now, if you are praying about something you are not knowledgeable about, then the problem is not God hearing. The problem is that you yourself have not gotten into that place where you are supposed to get the relevant knowledge that is required for it to succeed. So we can never overemphasize the importance of education. And then also to add to that point also, if you get to the US, there's something called the SBA.gov. SBA is a small business administration. So the US have been able to create a portal that has a database for all its businesses. There are regular trainings, there are regular checkups on businesses. Years ago, we used to have companies like NDA, National Directors of Employment. We had Sme'S. I know that those organizations are doing what they need to do, but we need to now begin to evolve new patterns, new ways that can appeal to the average Nigerian. When you talk about little things like social media now, how many business hubs do we have that can help the average struggling business to get the right tool or the right know-how to grow their business? So take it from me, education is actually one of the most important things. That's actually why every now and then I am always going anywhere I hear that, oh, there's a educational program, there's a skill acquisition program, a bank is doing a training on, I want to be there. Why? Because I know that the survival of my business is dependent on the increase on what I know about building excellence, professionalism, and expertise in that business.
All right, Charles. Without minding what we do know how important education is, especially not just in business, but every phase of life that you find yourself. Now, you've made mention of a lot of things that really interest me, especially talking about the environmental factor. There is no how you are going to talk about business without talking about the government. There are a lot of policies. And now bringing it down to Nigeria as a nation, we have a lot of government policies that might possibly be causing small businesses, not even just small businesses, all businesses, a lot of problems that they are not being able to do what they are supposed to do well, in order to also return back to the economy of the nation. Would you please highlight some of those policies that you feel like is really giving issues to businesses, especially small businesses in Nigeria, that is not really making it go well as it's supposed to be?
Okay, one of them would be financial inclusion. And when we talk about financial inclusion, we're not just saying create a system for people that are already in business. Let's get back to the 6334 system, the schools. The best way, like I know the NYC started something which was good, which was a more of a skill. I think they called the SEED program, the skill acquisition system, which is good enough. But now that you have impacted these people with the skill acquisition setup like that, you are also supposed to follow that with a credit system that, or what we refer to as a grant, that will be able to allow these people truly operate what they've learned during service here. But this is the average way the average youth corporate think. Now, you've trained me, but you've not given me money to start. So I still need to get out of service and go work to raise money to go back to something I learned 2 years ago, which will not be relevant any longer. So our policy on financial inclusion needs to be strongly addressed. Another thing also is having database. Nigeria is one of the very places that, you know, we have this struggle with database. Like, for example, I remember years ago they would say that there was something like poverty alleviation scheme. I actually discovered that the millionaire that is living in your street, his wife and his son is part of the poverty alleviation program. That's also because there's no database. So guess what? The policy makers at the end of the day inform their family members, their family members inform their friends, and the same set of people that are well-to-do are still the same people that access those funds. There's no database. There's no proper operations for most of these schemes that we have. So the problem is actually not about the policy. The problem is about government recognizing that there are key stakeholders that you need to begin to bring you need to bring on board that will make these policies work. For example, what we refer to as PPT, public-private partnerships. That is one of the places that are actually be underutilized. Another area is also energy. Without energy, people cannot work. So we talk about power right now. The reason now why it's very sad, as businesses, if you know the tariff that most SMEs have to pay to stay afloat, you may be aware right now that some of them are already exiting Nigeria. Some of them are closing down. Why? Because they can no longer bear with the cost of energy. So right now, Nigeria is blessed. We're blessed with sun. What is wrong? Why don't we yet have a ministry that is concentrating focally on how to translate solar energy into power for us? Where at the end of the day, everyone we can now begin. Now, this is what our nation and Africa is supposed to be thinking about. How do we maximize what we have in excess? That's one of the most important things. So these are some of the few things. Energy is one of them. Financial inclusion is one of them. Then also another thing, also talking to Nigerians right now, people also need to now start learning the apprenticeship system that work in the East. Up till date, around the world, it has actually been proven even in the US. The US have recognized the fact that the Igbo system of apprenticeship is actually the best so far. Because before you start thinking about the money you are trying to raise, financial capital, first of all is intellectual capital. First of all is skill set capital. So the person that is able to stay with his Igbo master for about 3 years, 4 years, he's now able to learn exactly what it takes to develop that business so that even in a trying time, he's willing to succeed. And we have found so many men that have done so well. One of them is the person that, what's his name now? We have Mr. Stanley of the Stenile oil stuff. We have, that's this name I'm actually mentioning, that's he's into cars. This is what has helped some of these people to be able to build the industry that actually made them billionaires today. They didn't get that from the four walls of a school. If I ask you right now what university Dangote went to, nobody knows. But all we know that he's a business mogul. So we need to start de-emphasizing the institutionalized education like we know it, that is more certificate driven, and begin to emphasize more on our apprenticeship system where people can actually have sectors where they go learn skill acquisition centers. And another very important thing as well, the government now needs to begin to understand that every single local government has a youth body, has a youth hub. can we now begin to create network systems within each local government where youth within that local government can have free acquisition programs where they can go and learn? By doing that, you don't only increase the ability of people to get job and be self-sustaining. You are also going to reduce the number of crimes. You're going to reduce now
in
the reason why
yeah.
Yes, the reason why
now, Chris, we need to take a short break. I know you're gearing to go. You have it covered up today, and I'm very happy for that. But we need to take a short break, a breather. When we return, we'll continue on your line of thought. So stay with us.
Welcome back. Of course, if you're just joining us, it's the Daybreak Africa, and we're having something very interesting, having a very beautiful discourse on the Nigerian SMEs, also SMEs around the world. And our guest, Vice Cap here, was talking about apprenticeship and every other thing it entails for you to be a successful business owner. Charles, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm right here.
All right, please continue what you were talking about.
All right, so we need to begin to now build around what works. That is where most continents have gotten it right, like the Chinese. You don't see the Chinese say, oh, because things are working better in the United States, let's now build a English-based education for our people. They train them in Chinese. They train them in what they know how to do best. And no wonder today they're actually a bloc that you cannot look down on. The Americans have been Americans with all they do. Can we for once become Africans with what we do? You know, we have a number of billionaires that have been able to build billions through developing enterprise systems based on apprenticeship systems. Can we go back where we have people, oh, go to your school? Nobody say don't go to school. Education is very important. They can't believe what we're talking about right now. If you have to train your people in our local dialect, then go ahead and do that. Because the major workforce that actually is in terms of food production right now, they are still non-literate. Let me give you a particular example so you understand what I'm saying. As far as buildings are concerned right now, majority of the people that actually responding for majority of the buildings you are seeing, let's take for example, Lagos and most of these places, they are not people that went to these 4 walls of the school. There are people that studied this thing through a sense of apprenticeship systems. I remember during the COVID season, there were people that even learned how to make things like masks and this face masks, and they made millions out of it. So our problem is that we are trying to adopt to the way things work in every other place without asking ourselves, what do we have that we can amplify as a people? The average Nigerian doesn't, in short, just give them a little bit of skill and they can go very far with it. I'll prove this to you. It's so sad that as I speak to you right now, you are going to find more population in the international airport than you even find in the local airport. Why? Because the same Nigerians not having the access to these opportunities, access to finances, access to things that can help them to put together what they know, they become the brains for development in other parts. Every day we keep on hearing about how Nigerians are conquering in terms of medicine, Nigerians are conquering in terms of business in Canada, in the UK. So it's not a problem of lack of the brain system, but I think it's rather a problem of brain drain, which is actually one of the major issues that we are facing right now. Because if people cannot live life in their country, they will definitely find where is the next available spot for me to go, even if I have to go through the desert.
So I'm happy you actually talked about brain drain. On this set, we'll discuss about the jackpot syndrome. If SMEs generate income for the Nigerian economy, is very crucial to the Nigerian economy. If SMEs create innovation, if SMEs create job opportunities, if SMEs create growth in the economy, do you think the Nigerian government is doing enough in encouraging small businesses in the country? And how do you think the jackpot syndrome and of course the brain drain syndrome that you've spoken about is affecting economic development in the country in terms of this?
All right, it is affecting the economic development in different ways. Right now, there are more Nigerians more in tune with getting remote opportunities. First of all, that's an industry that has not been explored. As I speak to you right now, Nigerian and Africans are the best place to source out for resource employment in any part of the world. And why is that? The average person in the UK know that he may not be able to pay a UK citizen. The average person in the US know he may not be able to pay a US citizen. Same with Canada. They
We can
notice
hear
that the
you.
average Nigerian can do better job. Yeah, can do better job for less money. So more Nigerians are now beginning to help, some of those economy develop fast. And that's where the problem is. That's, as far as I'm concerned, there's really no developed nation, because the developed nations are working on the strength of of people within the developing nation. That's actually why Canada is opening its doors to us. UK is opening the door to us. US also opening the doors to us in many different ways. So our government, coming to what you asked, our government now needs to sit down and go back to the drawing board to ask a question. Now we have more people graduating from the schools every now and then, millions. As a matter of fact, I think it's been said that about 600, the world right now is looking for about 600 million people to get into the workforce, so that more productivity can be made, and majority of that is going to come from SMEs. And by the way, in case you don't know, SMEs is actually what is responsible for the growth we are seeing in the United States. You no longer, when you talk about economies, you don't think about the US government. You think about places like Microsoft, you think about places like iPhone, you think about all those are basically, in their own definition, those are enterprise that have been able to build themselves from a small level, and today they are what the world reckon with. We can have same in Nigeria. The average mechanic in Nigeria can produce a car. But where does it start from? He cannot even bear to conceive that idea. Why? Because financial inclusion is not even there in the first place. So our government now needs to go back and look at, first of all, the government needs to get into partnership with the media organizations like you guys. I'm going to find a way. How can we create programs that will get people to be in tune with understanding that they can grow in business? So the government needs to do more. There is an overemphasis on infrastructural development that I believe that we are now beginning to underplay on the importance of what I refer to as, essential education base. And how can we make this possible? The government needs to be able to build partnership with media houses, so that the quality of production of programs can also inform the decisions, of Nigerian business owners. For example, you go to the United States now, you will notice that there's, like I told you about the SBA, the Small Business or Association, Administration rather. They've been able to build a body of information, both audio, visuals, to help their business develop. Can the government begin to have, an audience with some of the media houses, and then begin to develop educational programs where let's de-emphasize on all these entertainment-driven programs, like fun. But if fun now takes 95% of what the populace give their attention to, then we're in trouble as a nation. There's no way we can compete with other nations that are doing major research, doing for their sectors, for their sector. And then each local government, each sector also needs to begin to have a hub for them. And this training can be taken in different languages. There's nothing that says it has to be compulsory to do that with their language and it works. We actually in Nigeria can do the same. So those are a few things. And then, like I flocked on earlier on, financial inclusion now needs to become a very important thing. An example of a hub already doing that would be the Tony Elumelu Foundation, where at the end of the day, a group of people have come together and they're able to learn the rudiments for not just starting a business, but growing a business and sustaining a business. And then they are giving a fund as much as $5,000 to start and ensure that those are doing well. And some of the people that have graduated from that program, they are doing extremely well. Never stops. So these are some few areas I think the government needs to learn. If you cannot now create new programs, can you partner with people that are already doing stuff? Like, for example, within my own firm right now, we do trainings, free seminars online every now and then. Now, can government now find a way to say, okay, can we check the different sector? Can we check the different business consultants and find who is actually working? Empower them with what it takes to actually be able to go into different places and do that. If Google can come away from US and do that, why can we not do that? If Microsoft can come and even build a sector here, why can we not do that as a nation? So these are some of the things I think we can improve upon.
As a roundup today, please can we take a look? Can you help us understand market, limited market access? The fact that some of our goods exported out of the country are rejected and sent back, where countries like Ghana are cashing out and other African countries can export, especially agricultural products, with ease. But when it comes to Nigeria, most of these agricultural products are sent back. They are not accepted because we do not meet the required standards.
Yeah, just like you talked about, standards are very important. If we have to globalize or compete with the global market, we need to now begin to employ standards in whatever that we're doing. So that's also where the educational resource now comes in. Nigeria also needs finances to be able to employ some of these processes. By the time you start a business, you have the know-how on how to operate the particular machinery, but there's no way you can, there's no bank you can go to. I used to remember years ago where you can go to walk into BOI, the Bank of Industries or the Bank of Agriculture, and you ask for a soft loan, or you ask for a loan that will be given in terms of machineries to help you develop your business. Now, what is wrong? What is happening today that we don't now have access, where the banks cannot, give real business access to some of those funds? Today, you go to the bank and the bank is just running after people that are already made. Let me use that word. And the average person that has the know-how doesn't have it. So the truth of the matter is not like we just want to produce things that are substandard. A lot of Nigerians don't know where to go to get the right know-how, the right finances that can enable them buy such kind of machineries. And so that's something that needs to be addressed from a financial inclusion system created by the government. Also, another thing is the battered image of Nigerians outside. A lot of Nigerians are actually known for the wrong, let me use the wrong side of doing business around the world. Talking about Yahoo, talking about illicit business. But that is also because we are not exporting the brains of Nigeria. We are not exporting the light of Nigeria to other parts of the world. So our government now needs to start spotlighting Nigerian businesses that are worthy of note to other parts of the world. By exporting those, for example, you can see what, so just like what Epis is doing right now. So we can now export to the world to show the world, okay, Nigeria has what it takes within the aviation sector to compete with the rest part of the world. Now, we talk about innocent cars. This is a time where the government also should now, let's drop all the other, no apologies to our use of Toyota and other things, but can we for once use Nigerian indigenous cars? Where at the end of the rest of the world we know, okay, just the same way China has given us a Toyota, the US have given us a Ford, the UK has given us a Lexus and all that. Can we have Nigerian give to the rest of the world, Nigerian give to the rest of the world what we produce by ourselves? For how long are we going to remain consumers and we are trying to look like people that are producing? It will never work. So the government now needs to look at within several sectors, within our SMEs, and find how to use that as an example for the rest of the world, that Nigerian is in need, or Nigeria is worthy of foreign direct investors and investments, and we can compete with the rest part of the world. I bet you the Nigerian doesn't have a problem with producing better standards than what's obtainable other part of the world, but we don't have the money and we don't have the partnership that can actually result to that.
Okay, so as we round up today, what's your final take on SMEs and, of course, the challenges that they face in Nigeria and what government can do?
And please just in 1 minute, because we're really out of time.
All right. So now we've talked about government, but you must always remember as an SME owner that you are the government of yourself. So you must also launch out there to find the information that can help you grow. A lot of SMEs right now are also getting grants from different organizations. Find the industries where things work. And one of the industry people are not looking at right now is the travel and tours industry. That revolutionized places like Dubai, places like the Maldives. Nigeria can actually achieve that as well. But we need to also be willing to learn what is working in other parts. If you have to travel and get there. So that is what I will begin to say. Don't just wait on the government, but you also now will also need to find a way to upgrade what you have. There are things you need to unlearn. There are things you need to relearn. there are skills you need to get. You need to become multi-skilled in every facet. Gone are those days where you just say one big man, owner of business. There's no big man any longer. You must become the chief servant in your business for as long as you provide value that can be of demand and that people are willing to pay for. So basically, it doesn't just rest on government. Every SME also needs to rise there and begin to understand, move from survival to success, and from success, very importantly, to significance.
Thank you so much for being on the show. We've been speaking with Dr. Charles Eromosele, who is a business management consultant on the topic, SMEs in Nigeria, Challenges, Practical Solutions. Thank you so much. This is where we call it a day on Daybreak Africa today. We hope that you're wrong with all that you've heard today. Take care of yourself. I am Anire Binitie.
All right, I would say most importantly, we have to support our own brand made in Nigeria. They are all beautiful products. In as much as we urge the government to do the needful, we as Nigerians, we should remain productive and do what is right. As Nigerians, we're productive in every sphere that we find ourselves. And Made Nigeria is going to be a very great blast in the market world. We'll do great. From us here, I remain Micheal Obagiri.